ಸಂಸಾರದಾವ ನಲಲಿತಲೋಕ ತ್ರಾಣಾಯ ಕಾರುಣ್ಯ ಗಣ ಗಣತ್ವಂ प्रप्तस्य कल्याणा गुणर्नवस्य वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् महाप्रभो कीर्तन नित्य गीता वादित्यमाद्यान् मनसोरसेना रोमाञ्चकम्पा श्रुतरङ्गबाजो वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् श्रीविग्रहाराधन नित्यानाना शृङ्गारतान्मन्दिरमजनादो युक्तस्य भक्तां च नियुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् चतुर्विधा श्री भगवत्प्रसादा स्वादान तृप्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्गान् कृतैव तृप्तिं भजता सदैव वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् श्रीराधिका माधवयो अपारा माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्नाम् प्रतीक्षणा स्वादनलोलुपास्य वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् निकुञ्जयुनो रतिकेलिसिद्ध्याय यायालिभियुक्तिरपेक्षणीया धात्रादिदाक्षात् अतिवल्लभास्य वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् साक्षादरित्वेन्दा समस्तशास्त्रे उक्तास्तथा भाव्यत एव साद्भिः किन्तु प्रभोजा प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादान्न गति कुतोऽपि भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादान्न गति कुतोऽपि ध्यायान् सुवास्यं तस्य यशस्त्रीसन्ध्यां वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दं वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दम् नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमति भक्ति वेदान्ता स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चात्यादिसतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवसदि Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Nila Madhava Radha Nila Madhava Radhe, Jayo Jagannatha Jayo Baladeva Jayo Sudarshana Jayo Sudarshana, Jagannatha Jayo Baladeva Jayo Subhadrama Jayo Sudarshana, Jayo Sitaram Jayo Sitaram Jayo Sitaram Jayo Lakshmana Hanuman. Jayo Lakshmi Narasimha Jayo Lakshmi Narasimha Jayo Lakshmi Narasimha Jayo Lakshmi Narasimha, Jayo Gauranitai Jayo Gauranitai Jayo Gauranitai Jayo Gauranitai, Jayo Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Guru Deva Jayo Guru Deva Jayo Guru Deva Jayo Guru Deva, Nita Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol, Nita Gaura Hari Bol.
Namaste Narasimhaya Praladalaadaine Hiranyakashipurvashaha Shilatanganakalaye Ito Narsimha Parito Narsimha Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsimha Bahir Narsimha Hrudaye Narsimha Narasimhamadim Sharanam Prapade Tava Kara Kamalavare Nakham Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Narsimhadev, Jaya Narsimhadev, Narsimhadev, Jaya Narsimhadev. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय। प्रहलाद महाराज की जय।
वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्तिप्रतिदेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः। वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्तिप्रतिदेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः। वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्तिप्रतिदेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः। की जय।
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी। नमो नमः नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी। नमो नमः राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो ये अभिलाषी। राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो ये अभिलाषी। जे तुम्हारा शरण लोय तारा वांछ पूर्ण होय। शरण लोय कृपा कोरी कोरो तारे वृंदावन वासी। मोरा ये अभिलाष विलास कुंजे दियो वास। नायने हेरिवो सदा युगल रूपरासी। ए निवेदन धैर्य सखीरानुगत करो। सेवाधिकार दिए करो निज दासी। दीन कृष्ण दासी को ए न मोरा हो। श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमी सदा येन भासी। श्री राधा गोविंद
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नाम यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम हरे हरे जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय वृंदा देवी जय वृंदा देवी वृंदा देवी जय वृंदा देवी नित्य गौरा हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय वृंदायै तुलसी देव्यै प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णु भक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः वृन्दायै तुलसीदेव्यै प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्तिप्रतिदेवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः। वृन्दायै तुलसीदेव्यै प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्तिप्रतिदेवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः। प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्तिप्रतिदेवी सत्यवती मति वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय।
This is of everyone that full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vancha kalpatarupyascha kripa sindhubhyo jena pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti vaishnav vrinda ki jai. हम की जय। तो दर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादावग्निर्वापनं श्रेयकैरवचन्द्रिका वितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनम् आनन्दं बुद्धिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतास्वादनं सर्वात्मस्नापनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनं नाम्नामकारी निजसर्वशक्तिः तत्रार्पिता नियमिता स्मरणेन काला एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवान् ममापि दुर्दैवं ईदृशम् इह जनीनानुरागः त्रिनादपि सुनीचेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानिना मनादेन कीर्तनीय सदा हरि न धनं न जनं सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीशकामये मम जन्मानि जन्ममीश्वरे भवतात् भक्तिरहेतुकी त्वयि अयि नन्दतनुजा किङ्करं पतितां मां विषमे भवाम्बुधौ तव पादपङ्कजा स्थितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तय नयनं गलदाश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गदहृदया गिरा पुलकैर्निशितं वपु कदा तव नाम ग्रहणे भविष्यति युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्रवर्षायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे आश्लियवापादरतं विनस्तु माम् आदर्शनं मर्महतं करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विदधातु लम्पतो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरः हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Sankirtana movement is a prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. Thus there are hundreds and millions of Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting this name. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for you. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking one's are lower than the straw in the street. One should be more taller than the tree, devoid of all sense of one's prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your cause, devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharashtra Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of air and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O Lord of my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your name? When will my voice choke up? And when will the eyes of my body stand in the recitation of the name? O Govinda, feeling your separation and considering a moment to like 12 years or more, tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he remains so many friends me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken heart by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worship Lord, unconditionally. Sri Chaitanya Prabhu Sastakam ki jai. Shri Guru Pranam and Mangala prayers ki jai. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutavadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijanasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Sri Visakhanvitam Cha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschasya Deshatarini Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namini Varshasi Varshavanavi Devi Dayataya Kripaptaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dharani Prabhave Namaha Ujjvala Premadhya Sri Rupanuga Bhaktida Sri Gaura Karuna Sakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Sri Murtaye Dinatarini Rupanuga Virupa Siddhanta Dvantaharini Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralamba Rasambodhe Padam Pujayate Namaha Namo Bhakta Vinodaya Satchidananda Namini Gaura Sakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gaura Virbhava Bhumistvam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarva Bhuma Shri Jagannadayate Namaha Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaure Trishe Namaha Panchatatvakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Saktikam Jayatam Surataupam Hey Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabandho Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Jayatam Surataupam Go Mama Mandapate Kati Matsarva Swapadambojo Radha Madana Mohano Divya Vrindaranya Kalpadrumudasi Nagara Simhasanastha Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Presthalti Sevamano Swarami Sriman Rasaram Vivam Sivata Tathastita Karshan Venu Swaner Gopir Gopinadasi Estuna Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Chaitanya Sri Sri Guru Pranama Prayers.
श्री ब्रह्म संहिता की ईश्वरा परमा कृष्ण सच्चिदानंद विग्रह अनादिरानंद गोविंदे सर्व कारण कारणम चिंतामणि प्रकार सद्मसु कल्पवृक्ष लक्षावृतेषु सुरभिरभिपालयन्तं लक्ष्मी सहस्रशहता संभ्रम सेव्यमानं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि वेणुं त्वनन्तम् अरविन्ददलायताक्षम् शोभं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि अलोलचन्द्रकलसाध्वनमाल्यवंशी रत्नागदं प्रणयकेलिकलाविलासं श्यामं त्रिभङ्गललितं नियताप्रकाशं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि अङ्गानि यस्य सकलेन्द्रियवृत्तिमन्ति पश्यन्ति पन्ति कलयन्ति चिरं जगन्ति आनन्दसिन्मयसदुज्ज्वलविग्रहस्य गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि अद्वैतमच्युतमनादिमनन्तरूपम् अद्यं पुराणपुरुषं नवयनं च वेदेषु दुर्लभमदुर्लभमात्मभक्तौ गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि पन्तस्तु कोटिशतवत्सरसम्प्रगम्यो वायोरथापि मनसो मुनिपुङ्गवानां सोऽप्यासयत्प्रपदसिं
गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि चरितं जगदन्तकोटिं यश्चक्तिरस्ति जगदन्तचयायदन्तम् अनन्तरस्तपरमानुजयन्तरस्तं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि तथैव सम्प्राप्य रूपमहिमा सनयानभूषा सुप्तर्यमेव निगमप्रतितस्तुवन्ति गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि आनन्दचिन्मयसदुज्ज्वलविग्रहस्य गोलोक एव निवसत् अखिलात्मभूतो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि प्रेमाञ्जनचूरितभक्तिविलोचनेन सन्तः सदैव हृदयेषु विलोकयन्ति यं श्यामसुन्दरमचिन्त्य गुणस्वरूपं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि
प्रमादिमूर्तिसुकलानियमेन तिष्ठान्
नानावतारमकरोद्भुवनेषु किन्तु
कृष्णा स्वयं सम्भवत् परमः पुमान्यो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि
श्री ब्रह्म संहिता की जय.
Translation.
Go ahead.
Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme godhead. He has an external blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending the cows, yielding all desire, in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petals, with head decked with peacock's feather, with the figure of beauty tinged with hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, round whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers beautified with the moon locket, whose two hands are adorned with the flute and jeweled ornaments, who always revels in pastimes of love, whose graceful threefold bending form of Shyamasundara is eternally manifest. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantiality, and is thus full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of that transcendental figure possesses in himself the full-fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha. Yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayama by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane. As there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and at the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. I adore the same Govinda, the primeval Lord, in whose praise men who are imbued with devotion sing the mantra suktas told by the Vedas by gaining their appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, and ornaments. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities, company of her confident Sekis, embodiments of the extensions of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual rasa. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shamasundara, Krishna himself with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts with the eye of devotion tinged with salve of love. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna in the different avatars in the world in the forms of Rama, Nrsimha, Vamana, etc. as his subjective portions.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhakti Brahma Samhita ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Grantaraj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Deve Guruvani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskanti Satarni Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are reading chapter 13, verse number 25. Dhyane nat mani pasyanti kechid atmanam atmana anye sakyayeno yogena karma yogena chapare. Okay, so Mataji, you can read. Mataji, you can read. Yeah, take your time. Hello. Yeah, this is Harry. Hi.
Some perceive the super soul within themselves through meditation, others through the cultivation of knowledge, and still others through working without fruitive desires. Purport. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Lord informs Arjuna that the conditioned souls can be divided into two classes as far as man's search for self-realization is concerned. Those who are atheists, agnostics, and skeptics are beyond the sense of spiritual understanding. But there are others who are faithful in their understanding of spiritual life, and they are called introspective devotees, philosophers, and workers who have renounced fruitive results. Those who always try to establish the doctrine of monism are also counted among the atheists and agnostics. In other words, only the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are best situated in spiritual understanding, because they understand that beyond this material nature are the spiritual world and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is expanded as the Paramatma. The Super Soul is in everyone, the all-pervading Godhead. Of course, there are those who try to understand the Supreme Absolute Truth by cultivation of knowledge, and then can be counted in the class of the faithful. The Sankhya philosophers analyze this material world into 24 elements, and they place the individual soul as the 25th item. When they are able to understand the nature of the individual soul to be transcendental to the material elements, they are able to understand also that above the individual soul there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the 26th element. Thus, gradually, they also come to the standard of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Those who work without fruitive results are also perfect in their attitude. They are given a chance to advance to the platform of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Here it is stated that there are some people who are pure in consciousness and who try to find out the super soul by meditation. And when they discover the super soul within themselves, they become transcendentally situated. Similarly, there are others who also try to understand the supreme soul by cultivation of knowledge, and there are others who cultivate the Hatha Yoga system and who try to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by childish activities.
Yesterday there was an incident at the school. So it's the second incident in 10 days. So the first one, what's happened is the Motel 6 has been hired by the city of Issaquah to house homeless people. So in 10 days, 2 incidents have happened already. First incident, one guy had a gun, he shot 2 people, he ran away, and then he committed suicide, and the 2 people ended up in the hospital. And then yesterday, some guy came on the property, and while a mother was getting her kid from the school, he broke the window and stole her wallet. So I had to get a security guard company this morning, just now, and they're going to try and send someone today, and then we're going to have a permanent guy there every day for 10 hours. So, and then we're going to build a fence around the whole property. So it's very difficult for anyone to get in. So that's reality today. The police came yesterday and they said, "Oh, we know who did that," and then they left. I mean, they're not going to do anything. You see, this is the situation now in this country. So, and we can't let anything else happen like that. Otherwise, people pull their kids out of the school. So, anyway, it's getting harder and harder to have an honest business. Okay, so you read the purport, right?
Yeah. Yes, Mataji.
Okay, now let's go to the 26th verse. So the 26th verse and verse number 22 are very strongly related to each other. You'll understand as we read it. Who wants to read? Anybody?
26, right?
26, yes.
Sorry, 1 second.
Verse 26,
Yes,
t- translation.
yes.
Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about Him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. Purport. This verse is particularly applicable to modern society because in modern society there is practically no education in spiritual matters. Some of the people may appear to be atheistic or agnostic or philosophical.
Agnostic means they don't have enough knowledge to either believe or not believe in God. Go ahead.
But actually, there is no knowledge of philosophy. As for the common man, if he is a good soul, then there is a chance for advancement by hearing. This hearing process is very important. Lord Chaitanya, who preached Krishna consciousness in the modern world, gave great stress to hearing because if the common man simply.
He gave what?
Okay,
What kind of stress?
yeah. So,
Gave
in the
great-
modern world,
great
gave
stress.
gave great stress to hearing because if the common man simply hears from authoritative sources, he can progress. Especially, according to Lord Chaitanya, if he hears the transcendental vibration Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It is stated, therefore, that all men should take advantage of hearing from realized souls and gradually become able to understand everything. The worship of the Supreme Lord will then undoubtedly take place. Lord Chaitanya has said that in this age no one needs to change his position, but one should give up the endeavor to understand the absolute truth by speculative reasoning. One should learn to become the servant of those who are in knowledge of the Supreme Lord. If one is fortunate enough to take shelter of pure devotee, hear from him about self realization, and follow in his footsteps, one will be gradually elevated to the position of the pure devotee. In this verse, particularly, the process of hearing is strongly recommended, and this is very appropriate. Although the common man is often not as capable as so called philosophers, faithful hearing from an authoritative person will help one transcend this material existence and go back to Godhead, back to home.
Haribol. So in the previous verse I mentioned, verse 22, it says, but he has to change the conception. That change can be effected only by hearing from authoritative sources. The best example is here. Arjuna is hearing the science of God from Krishna. The living entity, if he submits to this hearing process, will lose his long-cherished desire to dominate material nature, and gradually and proportionately, as he reduces his long desire to dominate, he comes to enjoy spiritual happiness. In a Vedic mantra, it is said that as he becomes learned in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he proportionately relishes his eternal blissful life. There it is. Hearing, Shravanam, from bona fide devotees. And the most bona fide is Srila Prabhupada. That's why we're reading his purports. So if we do that and chant Hare Krishna, very easily we can become Krishna conscious. But the hearing has to be constant on a daily basis. The more you hear about Krishna, the closer you come to him. Right? Okay, so now let's go to the next verse. Who's going to read that? Go ahead. Go ahead. The
Yes.
chief of the Bharatas.
In translation, O chief of Bharatas, know that wherever you see in existence, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. Purport. Both material nature and the living entity, which are existing before the creation of the cosmos, are explained in this verse. Whatever is created is but a combination of living entity and material nature. There are many manifestations like trees, mountains, and hills which are not moving. And there are many existences which are moving, and all of them are but combinations of material nature and the superior nature, the living entity. Without the touch of the superior nature, the living entity, nothing can grow. The relationship between material nature and spiritual nature is eternally going on, and this combination is effected by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he is the controller of both the superior and inferior natures. The material nature is created by him, and the superior nature is placed in this material nature. and thus all these activities and manifestations take place.
So you see how important it is to understand this chapter, because it's teaching us to see correctly this material creation. It's a combination of matter and spirit. Now, when we say spirit, we're talking about the jiva and the paramatma. Not only the jiva, but the jiva and paramatma. So there's matter and there's spirit. The matter only moves because of the presence of the spirit, the jiva, and paramatma. If we see like that, then we become Krishna conscious, because we see how God is present everywhere, in everything. Nothing is independent of Krishna. Therefore, when we pray to Krishna, we're praying to the person who's controlling everything in the material nature. So, therefore, the devotee has complete confidence in the presence of Krishna. Just like when Prahlad Maharaj is asked by his father, "Where's your God?" He said, "Well, he's present everywhere." He said, "Everywhere? Is it present in this column?" No, by the way, Hiranyakashipu had a palace with 1,000 columns. 1,000 columns, right? So he says, "Is he present in this column?" He just points at one of them. He said, "Yes." He breaks the column with his sword, and out comes Nrsingadev. Why did he come out? Because Prahlad said he's present in everywhere. And to prove that, as soon as Hiranyakashipu broke that column, out comes Nrsingadev and kills Hiranyakashipu. This is called faith. Prahlad Maharaj had faith. He had knowledge and faith. It's not enough to have knowledge. You have to have faith also in the knowledge. A lot of people have knowledge, but they don't necessarily have faith. Therefore, they get easily scared, intimidated, confused. But when you have knowledge and faith in Krishna, you have knowledge of Krishna and faith in Krishna, then you're not afraid anymore. You're not confused. You have certainty that somehow or other, in a mystical way, Krishna is going to protect you, because he promises that also. Kvanteya pratijanihi nami bhakta pranashyati. Declare it boldly, Arjuna, that my devotee will never perish. So, to develop that faith, you have to associate with people who have faith. It's not going to be just on your own. Of course, that's good if you can, but usually you develop faith by associating with people who have faith. And in their association and the regular hearing and chanting and following the rules and regulations, not committing any of the 10 offenses against the holy name, all of a sudden you become Krishna conscious and full faith and full knowledge. Okay, so it says, without the touch of the superior nature, the living entity, nothing can grow. The relationship between material nature and the spiritual nature is eternally going on, and this combination is affected by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he is the controller of both the superior and inferior natures. The material nature is created by him, and the superior nature is placed in this material nature, meaning the living entities. And thus, all these activities and manifestations take place. Okay, let's read 28th now. 28. This is all precious information, and it's extremely profound. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Translation from Prabhupada. One who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul, accompanying the individual soul in all bodies, and who understand that neither the soul nor the super soul within the destructible body is ever destroyed actually sees. Purport by Prabhupada. Anyone who by God, anyone by good association can see three things combined together: the body, the proprietor of the body, or individual soul. And the friend of the individual soul is actually in knowledge. Unless one has the association
Okay,
of a
who's the friend of the individual soul?
is actually in
Who's the
not
friend of the individual soul?
super soul.
Yeah.
Unless one has the association of a real knower of spiritual subjects, one cannot see these three things. Those who do not have such association are ignorant. They simply see the body and they think that when the body is destroyed, everything is finished.
The majority of people believe that. The majority of people believe that. Right.
Those who do not have such association are ignorant. They simply see the body and they think that when the body is destroyed, everything is finished. But actually, it is not so. After the destruction of the body, both the soul and the super soul exist, and they go in eternally in
Go on.
and they go on eternally in many various moving and non-moving forms. The Sanskrit word Parameshvara is sometimes translated as the individual soul because the soul is the master of the body, and after the destruction of the body, it transfers to another form. In that way, he is master. But there are others who interpret this Parameshvara to be the super soul. In either case, both the super soul and the individual soul continue. They are not destroyed. One who can see in this way can actually see what's happening.
What is happening? What is happening?
What is happening?
Okay, so we're learning to see properly because that's the meaning of philosophy, to see things properly. Darshan. And most kids, most people don't see things properly. They just see the body. They have no understanding of the super soul, no understanding of the soul even. They just believe I am this body. So you see why so many people are making mistakes in life. And those mistakes are monumental mistakes where they destroy their only chance of being happy in the material world, achieving love and affection. It's all based on the body and incomplete seeing. Okay, so now we'll go to the next verse, 29. Who's going to read? Everything depends on how we see things. We're learning now in this chapter to see things properly. So there's three things. There's the material nature, there's the jiva, and there's Krishna. And Krishna on three levels: Brahmajyoti, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Now we're beginning to see things properly. Go ahead.
29. One who sees the super soul equally present everywhere, in every living being, does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus he approaches the transcendental destination. Purport.
This is real seeing. You see that Krishna is in the heart of every living entity. That's the plants, the aquatics, the birds, the bugs, the mammals, human beings, the devatas. Go ahead.
Purport. The living entity, by accepting his material existence, has become situated differently than in his spiritual existence. But if one understands that the Supreme is situated in his Paramatma manifestation everywhere, that is, if one can see the presence of Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living thing, he does not degrade himself by a destructive mentality, and it therefore gradually advances to the spiritual world. The mind is generally addicted to sense gratifying processes, but when the mind turns to the supersoul, one becomes advanced in spiritual understanding.
Perfect. Okay, we'll stop right there. Read these, from 22 on to 29. Read it again. Let it sink into the mind. This is the way to see things. This is what you have to teach your kids. This is how we can preach to other people, to see things correctly. They're not seeing things correctly, and because of that, they're making monumental mistakes in their lives. This is how powerful Bhagavad Gita is. We learn how to see properly. And that's the meaning of philosophy, to see things properly. Now you can see how screwed up people are. They're not seeing things properly. They see things in terms of ethnicity and race, this thing, gender. It's all false. All of it is false. And because of that, no one's happy. They're fighting all the time. They're arguing, even amongst families, inside families, outside families. Okay, so your homework, and my homework also, is to read 22 to 29 for tomorrow. And we'll be close to finishing the chapter. Any questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, if you think of a word like carpet, why does carpet have to be the meaning of a carpet? They have so many words. So, where did that word come from to mean carpet?
Well, let's say you grew up on an island where there was nobody else but you. And then you see a tree. What would you call the tree? Let's say you call it the bungo. Bungo. All right, now you have a name for the tree. Why did you say bungo? Because it sounds like something one of the monkeys said, bungo. So you gave the name bungo for the tree. Now you see a monkey, and he goes, so you say, oh, his name is. So now you have bungo and two words that you know because you gave those names. You see, that's how it happens. Now, the next generation, like you have kids.
But how do you spell that if the monkey is called Kahara?
You don't have to spell it. You just say it. All languages are not spelled out. There are many languages that they don't have an alphabet. They just speak it. How did you learn English? You just repeated what your mom and dad said. I see. So that's the way languages evolve. Go ahead.
So, Maharaj, we take every living entity as equal and everything, but
Equal? No, we take every living entity as a spirit soul.
Yes, Maharaj. So outside there are very radical elements. So how can we deal with them? We are good to them.
Well, you're learning now. That's why we're reading this chapter.
No, Maharaj. From outside we are having that radical things. So how can we deal with those people, those type of elements?
You have to explain what the truth is. And then they have to decide whether they accept it or not. But you have to know what the truth is to explain it.
Okay.
You're learning now how to see things correctly. So you should be able to explain to others how to see things correctly. Some people will understand, some people won't. So the way to help them to understand is bring them up to the mode of goodness.
Okay.
How do you do that? teach them to give up meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, and intoxication. Okay, now you have a strategy. Are you going to do it?
Yes.
Are you going to do it?
Yes, Maharaj.
What are you going to do?
We'll tell them that eating those things, negative effects will come in their thinking.
We have to convince them to give up these 4 self-destructive habits. It shouldn't be difficult because it's self-destructive.
Self-destructive.
If they do that, I mean, they can say yes but not do it. But if they actually do it, then they'll come to the mode of goodness. Then, when you begin to explain how to see things correctly, they'll be able to understand. That's our strategy. Okay? You going to do it?
We'll try.
Huh?
We'll try.
Okay, good.
Yes. Thanks.
All right, so we'll stop right there.
This strategy, Maharaj, is working. So I'm trying with different people. Whoever is interested in whatever, either one of the 4 items in self-destructive.
All right. It's not difficult. It's self-destructive habits. You want to do Aarti now? Go ahead.
Here, here.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma Bandamo Radhe Jahara Prasade Bai E Baba Tori Jai Krishna Prapti Hoy Jai Ha Hoy Te
Krishna Prapti Hoy Jahan Hote.
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Kariya Kya
Gurumukha Padma Vakya Chitte Koriya Kya.
Arana Koriya Mane Asha
Arana Koriya Mani
Asha
Asha.
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati
Shri Guru Tera Nirati Aise Uttama Gati.
Jai Prasad Pure Sarva Asha
Ye Prasade Pure Sarvasha.
Chakshudan Nilo
Jinme
Prabhu se
Jinme Prabhu
निर्विज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाश जाते वेद गाय जहाँ रचरित श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जनरा बंधु लोकेनाथ लोके रजीवाना हा हा प्रभु कर दया दे हमरे पद छाया ए बेगस गुसु त्रिभुवाना श्री प्रभु पतित पवाना जय प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी नित्यानामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य विषतारिणे जय कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवत्सरित गौर भक्त वृंदा जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol. The lotus feet of our spiritual master is the only way by which you can attain pure devotional service. Our lotus feet. I forgot. That's the only material suffering obtain the mercy of Krishna. Consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mat. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He is my agonize and fill my heart with treasure and knowledge. He is my Lord, words above up. I'm ecstatic by my eminence. Our spiritual master, the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor. O Master, be merciful unto us. Be famous all over the world. Srila Prabhupada